Hello and welcome to the paid weekly recap for the week ending June 20th, 2025. I'm Keith Harwood, CIO of Yellow Tunnel, and also pictured as Vlad Karpel, the CEO and founder of Yellow Tunnel, and the creator of the artificial intelligence utilized in the predictive AI for dynamic markets system. Before we get started, let's go through normal disclosures. Options involve substantial risk and are not suitable for all investors. Yellow Tunnel and myself are not investment advisors and not registered with the SEC nor FINRA. The information in this presentation is for education and information purposes only and should not be considered trade advice. And finally, myself and/or the team at Yellow Tunnel may have a financial interest in the securities presented and the trade ideas. If you need more time with the disclosures, please go ahead and pause the video now. Otherwise, we'll get into the market recap and preparation for next week. So first things first, there's been absolutely very little movement in the 10-year yield. A little bit up, a little bit down. There is some conversation after the Fed meeting about when the next rate cut may occur. It may be as early as July, but overall, the long-term projection of up to 2 rate cuts for this year seems to be in place. Will this weekend's actions, the strike against Iran, shift that? It may. So we'll have a very potentially active Sunday evening and into Monday as markets rebalance and reconsider what appropriate risk is justified in the 10-year, as well as the broad markets. Now, speaking of the broad markets, the S&P settled on a weak note on Friday. Part of this was, I think, driven by the concern that the United States was going to get involved with this Israel-Iran conflict, and it came to fruition on Saturday evening. So now that that is in play, the market reaction may be volatile, and then we'll look to see if there is some stability and some more traditional market behavior. I would normally expect an initial reaction to be on the bearish side. What comes from that afterwards, remains to be seen. So for now, looking like a weak setup with an increase in the VIX and implied volatility as the market fear may spike under concerns that we may be turning this into more of a conflict between Iran and Israel and starting to get a more global involvement in the current conflict there. That would also be potentially negative for the NASDAQ. We closed very close to the mid-May highs. That's been our support level. I don't expect that to hold initially on Sunday evening and into Monday. However, if we do see a bounce back or we see some de-escalation at the beginning part of this week, we may start to climb back up aggressively. So we could be in for a choppy week, and that is something to note. All right. And of course, small caps broadly just been the dog here. Resistance is at that 200-day moving average. But once again, I expect to see some downward pressure initially. And I may be wrong. Maybe the energy sector starts to rally and that helps bring up the Russell. Financials, I would expect to be weak because that's usually a global economic indicator. And that could be a weak element on the Russell 2000. But all in all, right now, I don't have a clear technical support level when we're going to be driven by a fundamental input that is a bit outside of what we've been seeing recently. 200 would normally be my support here in IWM, back to the late May lows. But at the end of the day, that may or may not hold, and it may or may not even be pressed against, since that is 5% away. I'm not sure that I would expect or anticipate a 4.5% to 5% fall, but I don't know the magnitude until we start to see the market's reaction, and then we go from there. The biggest thing to me that I expect to see occur on Monday will be a spike in the VIX. The market fear index is now going to show some uncertainty. We've now got involvement from the United States in the Israel-Iran conflict. That generally creates more uncertainty in how much this can escalate and how much more the United States gets roped into things. This is going to be a potentially tumultuous week. And actually that is favorable then for paid, as we are not looking at new signals this week. Given the current market conditions and some of the fundamental inputs creating a bit more chop with a slight bearish lean to the market, we didn't have a new indication for this week. And I actually believe that that's a good thing. This is a good market to be taking a week off of from a technical AI-driven focus and look more towards the fundamentals of what's going on in the market and see if there's opportunity there. Now, I should note that this week we did have one entry in Zscaler. So on Tuesday morning, we opened slightly weak, fell a little bit on the open, and then rallied towards the highs. And things were looking generally positive for the cybersecurity space, and ZS is in that. However, with the broad market pullback on Friday, we did see a little bit of a fall, and the net result was that the stock was down about 0.3% from the entry point on Tuesday till the close on Friday, and that did generate a loss in the options of about 9%. It's not ideal, but it is actually better that we did not have this trade through. And I apologize, this should say the 310 call for July 18th, but we did have I think a smart exit here, a good exit. Had we actually seen a profit in Zscaler, I'm not sure if cybersecurity goes up or down on this news. The market reaction will indicate that. We'll give that information. If we're going throwing everything out of the out, throw the baby out with the bathwater, bearish response, Zscaler could fall on Monday. If there is a concern about cybersecurity being more necessary because of this escalation, we could see a rally. But being uninvolved in that is actually a benefit to me rather than seeing, say, a small profit on Friday and then having this fundamental input shifting the dynamic in Zscaler up for Monday. So settling with a small loss and being clean here is a better position to be in. It allows us to kind of come in with a clean view, see how the market behaves this week, and prepare for potential entries the following week. And there are a couple of entries that right now look like they may be lining up for the following week, but for this week, again, no entries based upon technical AI driven information, as it is more driven on, again, technicals, price ranges, etc., and tends to be chopped up a bit by these fundamental inputs. And we like to avoid those scenarios. That said, we don't avoid all trading. We do have our live trading room that I urge you all to take a look at. We've got some great trade results. We've got some good ideas coming this week. To note, we're only having the morning bell this week. So from 9:15 Eastern until about 10:15, 10:30 Eastern, we'll discuss some trade opportunities, what's going on in the market, see if we can find some high probability of success setups, especially as I expect the VIX to rise. Directional bets on a technical basis may not be perfectly driven by what's going on in the market, but there are opportunities out there. We've seen some opportunities in the energy sector that may come to fruition this week. We may see some opportunities on uncorrelated stocks that don't always trade, lockstep with the market. As correlations rise, we may see some liquidity fall, but we should see some good opportunities here this week. We do have some interesting earnings as well, such as Micron, and we'll touch on that throughout the week. So please be sure to jump into the trading room. Can help, kind of talk through how a professional trader, Vlad and myself, look at opportunities and scenarios such as this, and our 20 plus years each of trading experience. We've kind of experienced it all, so we can help walk through what's going on, talk about what the AI models are seeing in those names that still have high value AI predictions, and look for those setups that are going to be more driven by potential for market fear or greed. So please be sure to jump in there. I hope you're all having a great week. And if you do have questions, you can always reach out to us. I'm Keith at yellowtunnel.com, and Vlad is Vlad at yellowtunnel.com. Looking forward to an interesting and exciting potential week ahead and some great opportunities in the near future. Thanks again.